Welcome to our channel. My name is Blake.
And I'm Christopher.
And we are Safari
Super Tramp.
Well, growing up in Alabama, I always liked lifted cars, whether it be Tacomas, which that was my first car, which I used to rally it, quote-unquote Safari it. It was two-wheel drive, kind of a bucket of bolts. Neighbors smashed into it. Eventually, I got a 4Runner, wheeled that a little bit. It wasn't really too modified. Got an F-250 in college, would kind of almost rally / safari it out in Tuskegee National Forest with my buddies just late at night, acting them up. Then I saw people were starting to do Cayennes. And honestly, that was just a platform that I didn't see anybody else do. And I've always been a person that wants to be different than the average person. And so I sort of just tackled it head on, and I've almost been driving her for 3 years. There's been ups and downs. Parts can be various in price, but overall, Safari is my lifestyle. If I ever see a dirt road, if I'm driving anywhere, I want to run it no matter what. If I'm going to get in trouble, who cares? And literally, probably like one of my new catchphrases in life is "Gotta Safari 'em all." And so that's sort of why I'm here. I want to see what I can safari, when I can safari, and how I can safari it.
Yeah, so for me, I'm a storyteller, so I'm going to go way back. So sort of this adventure lifestyle, whatever you want to call it, overland, safari, all things kind of outdoors, started for me as an 18-year-old. I went in the Marine Corps. That was an adventure in itself. I gained a lot of confidence in going different places and kind of being in different environments. And it just ignited this fire for me to love to travel. I've always been a car and motorcycle guy. It's just kind of been my thing. You know, for me, living in Alabama, I think everything looks better with mud tires on it. Like, so call us rednecks, whatever you want to call us. That's just kind of, I mean, I would put mud tires on a toaster, you know. So for me, building, you know, the Safari 911 behind me was just so me. Like, I wanted just to be able to bomb down these roads, but most of the time, any vehicle, and I've had a 955 Cayenne like this, you know, I love the shock value of like, I can't believe you did that to that car. Do you actually, like, the number one question I get is, do you actually drive this off the road? Yeah. And I'm like, why did I build it? Exactly. Yes, I drive it like I stole it off road. So, you know, I've always just kind of had this infatuation with the outdoors and travel and going to different places. And, you know, vehicles were always kind of my mechanism to get there. I spent the last 20 years on some adventure bikes. I've been all over the United States and just seen the most epic places in the most epic ways. So for me, that's just kind of what it is. Like, I'm a very creative kind of person. I kind of like, when I build a car, I want to build it like, this is how Porsche should have made this, right? They should have made it this way. They should have made this Cayenne lifted, you know, and I understand why manufacturers do things, but that to me is the fun of it, you know, and that's, for me, it's just a vehicle, and I'm just as happy on a motorcycle as I am tooling in this. They're just different tools to have different adventures.
And you might ask, what are you going to see in this channel? Well, you're going to see us build out these a little bit more. As you can see, need some work. His doesn't really need as much work, but we're going to try to add a little bit of protection.
So, yeah, from my perspective of it, like, safari kind of is a broad category of just, you could safari anything. You know, you guys can't see it, but down the street, there's an old 300 Mercedes diesel wagon, which I saw on a channel somebody did the other day and took an adventure in. It was very cool. But I just think that what is needed is two normal guys that, normal, are we normal?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Normal guys, you know, that you don't have to have a certain skill set. You don't have to have the best tools. You don't have to have gone to mechanic school. You know, man, you just get out there and you be creative and you challenge yourself to make things and you take risks. And that's really what life's about. But in particular, like this car I built, besides the suspension work, I did all of this work in this garage. I did it myself with just a little confidence and common tools. Like I'm tired of seeing channels personally, and no offense to anyone out there, but like I want a common sense approach to this. I want something that everybody could do for the most part. You know, not going to buy an F550 and put buck stuff all over it. I'm going to buy an F250 that's used, that's 13 years old. And you're going to see this on the channel. We're going to take an F250. We're going to marry it to this truck camper behind us, which is vintage and 25 years old. And we're going to make a tow rig that anybody could build in the garage. This is just a 2-car garage behind my house with a bunch of Harbor Freight tools. That's what this really, for me is about. It's the simplicity of it. Like, you don't have to have a fat bank account. You don't have to be a trust fund baby. If you've got a little bit of confidence in your skill set, you know, you're going to be able to do this stuff. And just, that's what I want to demonstrate. Like, I'm not trying to demonstrate that the latest and greatest and trendy. I'm just going to, I call it purpose built. It serves the function of it is the first line of creativity. Yeah. Like, it has to function like I want it to function. And then I'm not going to lie, I like stuff that looks aesthetically pleasing. And in the real world, that's what I do. You know, I'm creative and I'm artistic, and I think 911s are art. You know, I've had a 911 since I was 28 years old, which is a long time now. You know, so yeah, I just think I want to encourage people, let them watch what we do, and it's just any normal person could do this.
Yes. We're going to answer the question, will it Safari? You might see some wild cars on here you might normally would see on Safari channels. Like your average 911, that's what you would usually see. We're going to try some wild things, hopefully. So,
yeah, and we'll be sort of interactive with our audience. And, you know, one of the things I personally enjoy when I watch other YouTubers is, you know, what did that cost? What did you pay for this car? How much did this cost? How much did that cost? Like, give me real numbers. You know, and you can self-perform this stuff, and we can show you hacks. I mean, I think I showed kind of Blake a hack before for building some bumpers, and you just got to be able to piece it together, man, and have the confidence to not. You're not always going to do it right, but just do it, and ultimately, man, that puts you out there to get out there and do what you love, which is to be out there and just experience it. I mean, you don't have to have the best of the best to go out there and have a good time and kick it, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's it. That's what this is about for me.
We're just two regular old dudes, jack of all trades, kind of just coming together and playing along with the Safari game.
Good.
There's a lot of stuff up in North Georgia that we're going to try to go to this year, like AVF. Chris can talk about what he does, but I know he likes to go out west. That's something, hopefully, that we can plan for the future, maybe doing our own little sort of safari-type gig in
well, you know, I mean, that's
the South.
That's going to happen. You know, one of the big things that's happening in September is Safari Party X. And I was one of the lucky ones to get an invitation and taking the car. And we're definitely going to collaborate that adventure. And, you know, I'm a guy that I make several trips a year out west. I love it out west. It's just a change of scenery, a change of mindset for me. But, you know, been all over New Mexico, Utah. Particularly love the Big Bend area of the bottom of Texas, right on the Mexican border. I think that's underutilized a lot. You know, so we're going to make our rounds this year. You know, Colorado is always a good one, but Utah is going to be a definite for sure with Safari Party X, and just, man, we're just going to go out there and have a good time, and just whatever happens, and whatever breaks.
Yep.
So, you know, that'll be some good content of maybe how we put this back together if I wad it up. We'll see, you know. Oh, did I say that I was going to wad it up already? No. That wasn't
Here to
good.
jinx yourself.
That wasn't good.
Yeah.
You should edit that out.
Yeah, and he has super big plans for the car. I know skids are the main priority. So if you see this video, if it blows up somehow, we need 997 Carrera 4S skids, like pretty freaking badly.
Yeah.
We don't really know any there's not really any fabricators in our area that really work on that, or really even work on these. It's sort of why we're also starting the channel is no one works on these, and we want to work on them. We want to learn how to do it ourselves, just in case they break on trails, etc. And we'll walk you guys around the cars later and kind of show you what we have so far and sort of our future plans on specific models, etc.
Yeah. I mean, building this car, being a 4S and a 997 in particular, and the Safari, world, it was a little bit of a different animal, and we'll get into this, but it kind of has some unique characteristics that make it a little more challenging, I think, than building a 996. And being an all-wheel drive car, it's definitely not finished, but it's definitely a great start. What can I say, man? We're gonna try to perfect it, and we're just gonna try to, at some point, make it do what we need it to do. I'm a normal guy working a normal job.
Yeah.
And of course, Blake, you're a photographer full time. I'm a real estate developer. That's what I've always done. I've always created kind of out of the box houses, and that's how I've always made my living. But I always kind of applied that same science and metrics to whatever car I had. Like I've had cars after cars after cars after cars that I've modified to make my own. And it's just fun to me. That's the passion. Again, I was 28 years old when I got my first 911, and it's just been a love affair ever since. And there's definitely other Porsches on campus here. Sure, they may make it into the channel, but we kind of want to be responsive to what the audience wants. If you guys want to see something, I think Blake alluded to it earlier that, we'll do a specific walk around on the car and kind of give the specs on it. And I know when I've posted this car online and people look at it, especially in the beginning, there's just a flood of questions of like, how did you do this? What did you do here? What kit did you use? And how is this different? And I think particularly with a 911, it's not that different from a race prep that you would do, a suspension that you do for like a full GT3 Club Sport suspension that you're going to go to the track on.
Yeah.
The difference is you're going up instead of coming down. And the cars are very similarly built. So there's a lot of parts out there available for these cars that weekend guys use. We go to the track too. It's not just about the Safari, but it's really not that difficult to build one of these cars or really find someone if you don't have the means to do the suspension or the facility to do the suspension. Most people can handle it if they're used to working on a race suspension.
Yeah.
So, that's the other thing. And then you just got to get creative with it, and you got to get brave enough to drill into something or cut something.
Cut Porsche.
And this car in particular, I chose because it already had a supercharger on it, and I felt like the price point I got this car, it wasn't 100% what I wanted, but the fact that it had the supercharger on it, and I didn't have to put that on there, and I felt like the number I paid for the car did not reflect the supercharger. I paid a normal price for a car that bonused had a supercharger on it. And I thought that would be cool for the car itself because it's kind of rare for a 997. And then I'm putting bigger tires on it. So it's going to turn them harder, right? So that's it.
Yeah, and I guess overall, we're also showing multiple price points. Cayenne's a little bit easier to get into. There's a little bit more of them available. Kind of depends on years. If you have any questions about that, I kind of know a little bit about them.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
A little bit.
I'm not an expert. I have to ask questions all the time to some of my friends. But just multiple price points too. Just the average person, whether you're young like me or a little bit more mature. We just want everybody to fall in love with Safari and just know that that's an option out there instead of, oh, I need to get a lifted truck. Why don't you lift one of these? It
Yeah.
sounds 10 times better.
Yeah.
It'll turn people's heads. Don't go out and buy a Land Rover. The parts are probably around the same price. Just, I wanted to start a wave of a Safari wave. That's the overall goal.
Are you hating on Land Rovers? Because you know I love Defenders.
No, I mean I'm a big Defender guy. The LRs and all that Discoveries, they'll be in the shop probably more than you can put them on the road, unfortunately. But it looks like he might argue on that.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't have an argument on it. I've had plenty of Land Rovers, and yeah. It's valid. Another thing about me, I daily drive a diesel Cayenne. It's a 14 Platinum, kind of a unique spec in my mind. It's red interior, 18-way seats, but it's lifted with a Eurowise kit. It's a lot more prettied up, but it's a fantastic vehicle for me and what I do. Traveling out west several times a year, I have a place in Colorado. Just gets incredible gas mileage, the range on it, the comfort of it. It's just a great choice for me. It'll handle, Forest Service roads with no problem with the lift. Deep snow on, just the conditions out there. It's just a phenomenal choice.
Yeah.
I love the diesel Cayenne. I think I mentioned this earlier, I had a 955 turbo. That was on a 3-inch kit with 33s. Cat delete, sounded amazing. Loved it. That was my first venture into Cayennes. And that's what made me really fall in love with Cayennes. And the off-road ability of them, specifically in that truck, was good.
Yeah.
And we're pretty close to being in Alabama, kind of the origination of the Cayenne movement, which really did start in North Georgia. And ironically, I think this is a tie-in story because there's a guy in North Georgia that started lifting Cayennes, and he started with a Cayenne turbo. He did it as a support to these guys because he did a lot of work on safari cars, particularly vintage. Yeah, Bryson.
Yeah, Bryson.
Vintage, and if I'm getting the story wrong, I'm sorry, but vintage car, he built the Cayenne as a support vehicle to run with these guys. So I just think it's a neat parallel between the two.
And hopefully my Cayenne will be the support car for his Safari mobile.
Well,
So
we'll see. We'll see. Like I said, we have lots of things that we can demonstrate on this channel. To me, it can't just be all about a 911 Safari all of the time. I think you guys will get sick of seeing me, do donuts or whatever and run certain roads and go through certain things. But, again, it may be about a tow rig. It may be about the Cayenne. It may be about the adventure bikes behind us. But it's just about getting out there and doing it and building a rig that'll get you there, get you back, and it didn't break the bank.
And if it does break, you know how to fix it.
Yeah, and you didn't have to pay some dude to do it all for you. So that's it for me.
Let's go take a look at the cars.
Than the day I built it.
So let's do a quick walk around. This is Chris's Safari. I'm kind of behind the camera now. We also have Matt over there filming. It's probably hella overexposed. But tell us a little bit about the car. We know it's a 996.
It's a 997.
That's what I meant. Jeez.
So it is a
Burn me
2008.
in the comments.
It started its life as a 2008 C4S. Had a Vortex supercharger on it, installed on it when I bought it. It is a Tiptronic car. Didn't want a Tiptronic car, wanted a manual. But, it was a free supercharger in my brain for what I paid for the car. So, bought it from a guy off Facebook Marketplace in Pennsylvania, flew up, drove it home, kind of that conversation. He was a big car stereo guy, so it had a really nice Alpine system with a custom sub box and all these amplifiers in the front that were just kind of came with the car. So picked it up, brought it home, drove it back, started putting it through the paces of the build, the first thing I bought was this factory roof rack. So started that. Then we just started piecing together our kit for the suspension. So basically a GT3 factory setup with the Club Sport control arms for that extra adjustability where you can get caster and camber out really, really, really far. You need that to get that flat stance because you're going up, basically there's MCS coilovers, going up 3 inches for the most part. One of the things with the 997 is that obviously this is a 4S, so it's all-wheel drive. So specifically an all-wheel drive 4S, you have to run a 2 to 3% smaller diameter tire in the front. If you do not, it will eat up the front chunk. So I wanted to use BFGs on this car, and it's really, really a challenge with the wheel size. So I end up going with these Black Rhino wheels. They're heavy set wheels. They're really designed for Sprinter vans, because Sprinter vans are on a 130 pattern. Interestingly enough, I had to go with a 17 rear and a 16 front to be able to get the differentiation in tire size for specifically for BFGs. Now, if you're running Toyos or something like that, a lot more choices, but I wanted BFGs. The car, besides the supercharger, so just the recovery stuff. These are literally an eBay add-on GT3 fender extension. These are just kind of a little stick-on. I fabricated this little bumper came off of my, believe it or not, off my 991.2 when I put side skirts on it. These are just everyday kind of fabricated mud flaps, hard mud flaps. Got to have hard mud flaps on this to just keep the rocks from the undercarriage.
Well, we've already had a lot of questions on those arches in the front, so I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, really.
And the people, so there's a couple other people that I know.
Yeah,
that the 997s, and they want the arches. So it matches the back, and it looks sexy in my opinion.
It's really like in a safari car, in my opinion, you want a square stance. I know the Dakar doesn't have a square stance, but so there's I think an 18 millimeter spacer in the front. I think I'm running a 30 in the rear, but it gets it pretty square. Like if you look underneath the car and you line it up, the front and rear are going to run pretty much in the same track. That is
quick. I don't know
to me the way. I mean, we're talking about a rally car for lack of a better word for what we do with it. So front and rear bumpers I fabricated out of these Amazon kits that you get for dirt track round cars. I don't have a pipe bender. I do have drill press. I do have a Harbor Freight welder. So I just kind of went after it, and fabricated the pieces that I needed to. The winch on the front of this, just a plate. I had to modify the bumper behind the bumper cover. It has a recovery point from the factory. I had to add another recovery point, so I bought an additional bumper and kind of recreated that and just bolted it through. It bolts through. The thing about this is basically the winch is tied to the bumper. This is basically like a light bar because it has to come off to get the bumper cover off. So it's about 6 bolts. You can pull this right on off. It's got a quick connector. It comes out. So if you have to get this front bumper cover off to do something, you have to design with that in mind. Yeah. To me, that was really the big challenge of it, in my opinion, for the front at least. And then the rear is more aesthetically pleasing than anything else. One of the things you'll see on the channel with the rear is that it has a trailer hitch. Well, why does it have a trailer hitch? Well, because I tow a trailer with a Venture bike on it. So you'll see one of probably my BMWs
and these are
that we will throw on a trailer that I built the trailer out of a Caravan trailer, which I think are personally the best trailers made. It was adapted for a personal watercraft, and I'm gonna open this up, Blake, for the engine. But I homemade it with Harbor Freight stuff to really take the the bike on. I wanted it to be super lightweight.
Very DIY.
I wanted it to be super lightweight because obviously you can't put a lot of tongue weight on this. It again has to come straight off, so it's bolted on where with 2 bolts, this one slides right off. Pull the bumper cover off, you do your thing. Because the thing about 911s are to get to a bunch of stuff, you have to pull bumper covers off. They're not hard to pull off, but they've got to be pulled off. You can come in and you can just kind of pan in. You guys can see the Vortex supercharger that is here. There's an additional water cooler that runs up front, but the challenge, and maybe one of the things that we have to solve in addition to skid plates for this, in my opinion, is you can't even see it, but that's the air filter now. The air filter used to be here. It used to be a box, kind of center located. It's really hard to get to, and that is this car specific problem because it's got the supercharger on it, so the air box is in a
You would
precarious
almost need
position.
to add vents to the side.
You'd almost need to fabricate a snorkel.
Yeah.
Some sort of snorkel where you ran up here. So maybe
the first 997 snorkel.
Maybe if Mike likes this video, he'll actually help me
Design it.
But like I said, I'm joking, but this is a very specific problem I have because this car has a supercharger on it. Otherwise, it wouldn't very much be that way. That's it. The roof rack is, an inexpensive roof rack.
So just Amazon boxes, correct?
These are ATV aluminum boxes. They house all of my tire tools and a sundry of the whatever. These are some, they strobe, they amber, they have white light, but there's some aux beam, which I just removed their logo and put these little Porsche logos on there to kind of give it a little more custom look.
Then you have a Warn winch in the front, correct?
Warn winch, that's, for a UTV, it's 1.5 times the weight of the vehicle, so it should be fine. I'm a huge fan of these Hellas, these value fits. To me, for the price point, I think I paid $119 on Amazon for these. So to me, they're money in the bank.
I actually have a pair of those I need to put on mine, so that can be something we do in the future.
Yeah. Inside of the car, pretty bone stock. It is not, as I shared with you guys, a high spec car. It doesn't have sport chrono. It's automatic. It's got basic seats, which are going to get recovered because they finally gave up with the dryness and the hardness.
I told him a race seat, so if y'all want that, maybe leave a comment if you like that.
Yeah, I have some 4 points over there with a Cray harness bar that could go in here, but I want my car to be a comfortable car because I drive this car. You could daily drive this car with no problem. People ask me what the best thing about this car is to me, and I said, it's like driving a 911, but not having to worry about 911 stuff. And they're like, well, what do you mean? I mean, potholes, curbs, any kind of dip in the road, anything you like. When I drive my 991, I'm hyper aware of there's a pothole. When I parallel park, I can't scrub my $2,500 wheel. With this thing, it's just point and shoot and go. You're not thinking about it getting dirty. You're not thinking about it getting scratched. It's just an easy car to own. And, to me, the 997 is kind of the last of the analog cars, the analog 911. My 991 is a much bigger car, much nicer car, much more creature comforty car. It reminds me of that departure. Like when I had the first 911 I had was a 993, and that thing felt super analog, but it was the last of the oil cooled, the true pure 911s. Should have kept that one, but I didn't. So
I'll have regrets.
Yeah, so that's the car, man. That's it.
So this is my M&N Cayenne S. First little modification right off the bat. We have no lower valance in the front. It's kind of more of a Baja kind of safari look. You see a lot of guys do it because bigger tires will rub right here, and there's fender liner, so I just kind of wanted to batch it up overall. Tire size, I think they're 32s, almost a 33. I'm pretty sure I can fit a 33 under here, We're going to test that out because I'm going to need new tires soon, as you can see. You can.
Yeah, I'm on 55. I had 33 on the.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you can make it.
Okay.
Yeah, if not, we have a Sawzall.
Exactly. Rocker panel cut. Other than that, I have a 2.5 inch Urwise lift on here. I have a subframe drop. I still need to slap it on there. I don't know if that's something we could do or we're going to bring it to a shop. I just know you have to release the subframe bolts and you slide it in there. So pretty easy. This car is getting wrapped pretty soon. I'm either thinking like a Marlboro style, almost like no Marlboro logo, smoking kills, and maybe like an orange, or maybe just like an orange with white stripes like a Tiger kind of, having Safari down the side, kind of just all up in the air. Kind of need to get it done though, because as you can see, the sun has taken a toll on this, this poor creature. Other modifications, not many. Just a roof rack. I have some other lighting that I need to put on. I don't know when we're going to do that, but that's in the future. So sort of kind of an outline of what I have installed, what I have looking forward to this. Kind of being a support vehicle for him when we go on little adventures. Eventually going to get a Tilta and a Rona and slap that on the back so we can get rollers of this thing in the desert. So pretty much film / adventure mobile / whatever the heck you want it to be.
Hotel room.
And then we have, and hotel room. I have Toyo Open Country AT3s on here. I've ran this tire on my F250 and this. I love Toyos. It's more
Toyos
of
are great.
It's more of a desert tire. But under the hood, if I can even reach that, nothing special. You'll see a lot of plastic compartments are missing. But like my interior, I have just black with just wood, a wood steering wheel, no fancy heating. I mean, there's heated seats, but I mean, it's just 4.8 liter, naturally aspirated Porsche engine, which I've done a little bit of work to replacing stuff. As you can see, it's missing most of its covers. It's old, but it's my baby.
You know that I'll interject, and I'm sorry, but these V8s are one of the most, if not the most reliable Porsche engine made. Like they are super reliable.
They do have their issues, but
Like everything, but overall, it's a good motor. It's a really good motor. So it's a good platform.
All-wheel drive. Oil changes are pretty easy on this thing. Literally the filter is, I mean, if I reach down here, it's right here. I literally can put my hand on it right here. And then the oil pan is right there, which of course, as you can see, it's exposed. We need to fix that, as we need to fix that on his 911. So yeah, I mean, it's if you need oil change, pretty freaking easy. Most of the maintenance is pretty easy. It's pretty open in here once you take all the plastic crap off. But I mean, Safari Porsche, what else could you ask for? So we decided to take y'all here to Sloss Furnace to kind of
Haunted Sloss Furnace.
haunted Sloss furnace.
You guys check that out. It's pretty cool history.
Just to kind of just say, just as a symbol of kind of the hard work we're going to put in to this channel. That's going to be built from steel here from Magic City. If you're around here, love Safari cars, would love to meet you. Follow us on Instagram. Chris, do you have anything else to say?
No, just epic day, man. This is like urban assault. Like
Yes.
this is phenomenal fun. Like just bombing up a gravel road and just ripping it.
Also, don't try any of these stunts at home. We are trained professionals. Thank you, and have a wonderful, beautiful day.
Thanks.
That's beautiful.